Hi everyone, Christine here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to all my new subscribers. And welcome to my Creative Times 166th Halloween Sneaky Peeks. And so before I share with you my projects, let me share with you what we're sneak peeking today. First up, we have our new paper pad, and this is called Witchy Vibes 2026. Love these pastel colors. And this comes with 24 sheets total for each of 6 designs. And on the inside covers for the front and back, Emma included some tags. So it'll be the same for the back inside cover. And here's the first one. Some pink stars, so pretty. And here's the back of that. You have some pink spider webs. And then you have this color here. And then here's the back of that with this pattern. And then you have this pretty color. And there's the back of that, pretty spider webs. And here's this multicolor one. And the back of that. And then you have this one, it's like a dark gray stars, almost black. And there's like a pink and bat pattern. And here's this pretty one, it's like a lavender star pattern. And with the bat and purple background. And here's the back cover. And our next paper pad is called Once Upon a Spell 2026. And this also comes with 24 sheets total for each of 6 designs. And on the inside covers of the front and back is this dark gray chevron paper. So it'll be the same on the inside of the back cover. And then you have this pretty pastel color on this side. And then here is a pretty watercolor pattern. And then you have this paper, this sort of like a pale green stripe and like a sage green polka dot. And love this one. This is like some mummy paper and some spider webs and some pretty purple plaid paper here. And love the script with the purple background. And then you have this pattern here with some moons and stars. And here's the back with orange and polka dots. And then you have this pretty pattern. And this dark green with some script in the back. And here's the back cover with that chevron. And next we have 2 new ephemera, and there's a pink and purple version, and this one is called Pink Pumpkin Magic. And the other one is called Sweet and Spooky, which is the more traditional colors. And so let me share with you what those look like. And next we have our new stamp set, and this one is called Sending Magical Vibes, if you'd like to take a screenshot. Now this does not include any dies, but it does coordinate with the Cozy Holiday Hugs stamp and die set, which does come with these dies. And so you can use the wavy banner ones or the rounded type of sentiment dies. And just a quick tip, this is from Emma. Make sure you make yourself a template, and that way you can curve your stamp and form it to the die. So just a quick tip. So that's our new stamp set. And next we have our pumpkin carriage add-ons, and this coordinates with our jack-o'-lantern tag with this pumpkin. And so let me go over this die with you. You have this carriage here, and this would sit at the bottom of your pumpkin. And then you have your wheels. There's two together, and these would be your layers. You can pop those up if you wish. And then you have your door here. That would go like that. And you have this die here. This has two sets of windows. You would cut this out twice. The one with this little decorative piece at the top would go in the middle. And then the other two windows would go on either side of that. And this little piece here is the door knocker. Okay, and then you have this piece here. These are the little curtains. The middle one is for the middle window. And then you have a left and right curtain for your left curtain for the left one and the right curtain for the right one. And then you also have some two options you have here. For the stem, you can use this stem here, which is like this. And with this stem, this is what I used to make a 4 3/8. Or you can use this stem here. This is actually a hat, and it comes with the band here. Okay, and then also you have these leaves, these ivy leaves. And there are some lanterns that would hang on either side, on both sides. And then you also have a solid piece, so you can make that like your glowing yellow if you wish. And then there's a layer piece if you want to use that layer. The hearts, you can put that on the wheels, which is what I did. And then I think that's it for that. So I'll share with you what my project looks like. And next we have our Magic Potion bottle dies. And this comes with 6 sets of bottle dies, and you get a small and large heart, a small and large test tube, and another type of test tube in small and large. And here are all the measurements in case you're interested. And you also get this shaker die, and it includes a tiny little spider, a skull, a bat, bone, frog, and then it repeats. And so I use this for my shaker. And now Emma will probably do a tutorial on how to put these together, but they're all basically the same concept. So let me do the heart, show you the heart as an example. So you have your scallop piece here, and then you have this layer, and then you can use this heart layer here if you want to change the color. Or instead of that, you can use this piece here, which is kind of like a liquid. You can add that in here. And these tiny little pieces here are to maybe change that to a lighter color or to highlight your liquid. Okay, so on this version, you can make this into a shaker, but you would need to take this piece and this piece and washi tape these two together and run it through your machine on with your paper, and then that way you can create your foam and the see-through piece. Okay, and I'll share with you how I created mine. And there's also some cork pieces here. And so for example, this cork here, there's actually 2 little dies in this one. The top of this would be the top of the cork, and then the small sliver piece would be right underneath the rim of the glass. And you don't even have to use that, but I'll share with you what mine looks like in just a second. So that's our Magic Potion bottle dies. And next we have our Tombstone Tag Dies, and it comes with 4 sets of dies. And the smallest one measures 9/16 by 3/4, and the largest is 3 5/8 by 4 9/16. On the largest one and the second to the largest one, you have 3 dies. The third one here has 2 cuts, two on the outside, on the inside. So it would cut the inside part out, but it would give you a little sliver to use as a layer. And so I'll share with you my project on how I use that. And so that's the Tombstone Tag Dies. And next we have the Scallop Web Dies, and the smallest one is 2 inches, and the medium is 3 1/16, and the largest is 4 1/16. They each come with a scallop layer. So pretty, and I'll share with you what my projects look like. And next we have the Scallop Crystal Ball, and this measures 3 1/16 by 3 3/4. And you get your scallop piece for the ball. This is your backing here. You have a stitch layer. There's also a sentiment die with a stitch layer, and you also have some details with some moon and stars. So that's the scallop crystal ball. Okay, for my first project, let me share with you all the other dies I've used. I used the Fun Web Tags, and this came out last year. And I used the bats here, and I also used the spiders on this die. And I also used the ghost tag dies, or ghost dies, and I used the smallest one here. I used the tiny bows and butterfly plate die, and I used just the tiny bow, this one here. And I used the A2 Fancy Frame layers. And so here's my project. Isn't it cute? So again, let me share with you the die here. So as you can see, I use the bottom part here to create the carriage that goes at the bottom of the pumpkin. And I popped that up on foam. And I also popped up the wheel layers on foam as well. So it's pretty thick and sturdy. And again, these little hearts are from the same die. And let's see, and here's the pumpkin stem I chose, but again, you can use the witch hat here as your top if you wish. And let's see, and I have this little bat with some acetate that I just glued, and you can't see where it's glued because it's hiding behind the leaves, and the leaves are part of that die too. And I have this little spider hanging with some cheesecloth, and this little witch is from the Pink Pumpkin Magic Ephemera, and she's hanging on sitting on some acetate too, and you can't see it, it's the glue because it's hidden under here. And here are the little lanterns, and you can't tell, but I did pop that up on foam. And the backing part, I just used my pen to color it yellow. You can see that it went through the paper. It looks yellow there. So I did that on both sides. So you get a right and a left one here. And again, you get the layering piece if you want to change the color. And let's see. And then I have my A2 Fancy Frame and A2 Fancy Frame layer. That I use and I use this with the pretty paper. And by the way, I used this glitter cardstock from Michaels, and that was a blessing from Ebony, sharing more. Hey, Ebony. And so let's see, and so here's the door piece here, and I popped that up on foam, and then I added the center window, which is this piece here. It's got the little decorative top there. And then I added the little curtains. Where's the curtains? Here's the curtains here. The center curtain here goes under this window. And then you have your left and right curtain here with these windows, and I popped everything up on foam. Here's that little door knocker. I cut that out in silver. And here's a teeny tiny little spider from the magic potion bottles, and I try to add little white gel pen for the eyes. These little stars are from some sequins from the Halloween shaker bits from last year. And so I made this into a treat box. And so all I did was I just took a 6x5 piece of, this is my template. a 6x5 piece of paper, and I scored it on every side, 1 3/4. You know, you turn it 1 3/4 and 1 3/4. And then you cut these tabs here so you can fold them all in. And that's a simple, super simple box. And so that's all I did. And then of course I cut this out a second time so I can make it look dimensional. And so here you can see how dimensional this is. So I popped up the carriage piece on foam and then the wheel in foam. And these pieces are also in foam as well. Now I could have cut off this on the back, but I just left it. And I added hearts on the back too. So isn't that super cute? I love how it turned out. Okay, my next project is using the Tombstone Tag Dies, and I did use the largest one, which is 3 5/8 by 4 9/16. And let me share with you all the other dies I used. I used the large treat box add-on, and I used this piece here. And what I did was, I also I needed a bottom piece to adhere to the add-on, which is this piece here. So I took a 2.5 by 2 1/4 inch piece of paper, and I scored it on this side here, which is at 2.5, and scored it at 1/2 inch on both sides. And then that way you get this piece here. And then for your treat box add-on, all you need to do is glue this. You can glue it to the front or back if you wish. If you do it on the back, then you'll need to cover the bottom of your box. And then what I did was, because I didn't need for it to be too high, I cut this off at 1 3/8. Well, I cut off 1 3/8 inch from the top. Okay, so that's what I did. And then I also used these Christmas greens. Now this is currently out of stock, but this will be back in stock. I think Emma said next month. I'm not sure. It's either this month or next month. Anyway, I used these 2 trees for this project and some of my other projects as well. And I sometimes use these 2 together, or I might use this twice and cut one shorter than the other. And so I love that die. And I also use the A2 Fancy Frame die again. The Fun Web Tag Dies to get the bats and the little spider. I used the pretty scallop oval. I used the smallest one. I used the ghost dies again. And the tiny bows and butterfly, I used the same little bow here. And I was totally inspired by Edwina, who is Elegant Creations by Edwina. Hi, Edwina. And she created a tombstone box, and I forget what die she had, but she added a bottom piece here, and I think she used foam. So I went ahead and used some 6mm fun foam for the bottom, and then I cut some strips of paper. And then I just used my black soot distress ink to ink it all, so it looks like a dark gray almost. Okay, so starting at the top here, I have one of my ephemeras from the Pink Pumpkin ephemeras, Pink Pumpkin Magic ephemera, that is. And I have her sitting on some acetate, and where it's glued you can't see because it's hidden behind this sentiment, and this is part of the new stamp and die set. And I have one of those tiny little spider webs from the new die, and I just cut a little corner of it, added some cheesecloth, and here's that little spider from the Fun Web Tags. And I did pop up this sentiment on foam. And here's that little ghosty die with a tiny little bow here, and I added a little diamond dot, and I have some white gel pen there. You can barely see these bats here, but I tried to put little dots or eyes with my gel pen. And these little stars are some sequins from Michael's Recollections last year in their Halloween shaker bits. And here's my ephemera again from the Pink Pumpkin Magic. Added another diamond dot here. And this little kitty is also from the same ephemera. I did fussy cut them out. And back here you'll see I have the pretty scallop oval. And I think I mentioned I have the A2, the purple piece back there is the A2 fancy frame die. And here you see I have trees on here and more here with some cheesecloth. And by the way, on this tombstone, see how it has this sliver of a pink layer? So that's this piece here. It cuts, there's a cut on both sides of this. And so it would cut out the middle part, and then you'd end up with the sliver piece. And you can either save the this piece or use it with your project. And so that's that. And let me see if I forgot anything. And I just added some glitter, and I think I added some glossy accents. And there's a box, and the back is just plain. And so that's that project. Okay, for my next project, I created a gift card slider card using the Magic Potion bottle dies here that I shared earlier. And let me share with you all the other dies I used. I used the gift card slider. I used everything here except for the gift card part. And then I'll go through all the other ones I used really quick. I used the A2 fancy frame dies. I used the Christmas greens, these two pieces here. The fairy Halloween dies, I used a kitty cat. And the Ginger Boy and Girl costumes, number 2, I used the skull and bones. And then I used the ghosties again. And the fun web tag dies again for the bats and the spiders. And I think that's all I used. And so here's my card. Is that super cute? And so let's see, let's start at the top here. I have these little bats that I popped up on foam, and that's again from the Magic Potion bottles, this little shaker die. So you get all these little spiders, skulls, bats, bones, frogs. And so I have that there. And then so I also use the shaker die here with the little skull and the spider that I popped up. And this skull and bones is from the Ginger Boy and Girl costumes number 2. And now in this corner here I have a little web that's from the new Scallop Web Tag Dies. I think it's web dies. And I just cut a little corner off the smallest one, and then I have some cheesecloth, added a little spider from the fun web tag dies. And over here, I used a couple of those trees from the Christmas greens. And by the way, the greens will be back in stock this month or next month, I forget. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. So I have some trees there and one here. And this little kitty cat is again from the Fairy Halloween Add-Ons. And here are my potion bottles. So I made them into shakers, and I used that shaker die to create the shaker bits in there. And here's a little cork pieces and that I mentioned earlier. Let me see if I can share with you the biggest one. Okay, so it cuts out the cork here, and then there's this tiny little sliver on the bottom, and that would be for underneath the rim of the bottle. And you don't have to use that, but Emma just likes to add those little details. And let's see what else here. And here's my little ghosty, and this bow is from the Tiny Bows and Butterfly plate die, and I have a little diamond dot there. And I have another spider from the shaker plate from the Magic Potion bottles. And I have a potion for your thoughts from the new stamp set. And so it pulls here, says sending magical vibes. And by the way, this pull here is from the gift card sentiments stamp and die set. And by the way, let me share with you that die here. I glued the sentiment to the bottom piece here. Let me see if I can share that with you. Okay, here's the die, and it's glued to this piece. But what I did was I kind of bent up the sentiment so it doesn't catch. So it doesn't catch here. And because I wanted it to sit pretty close to the potion bottles. Okay, and then I have some black lace that I got from Etsy. And I don't have anything on the inside yet, but it's super cute. So that's that project. Okay, my next project is using the scallop crystal ball. And again, this measures 3 1/16 by 3 3/4. And isn't it super cute? So here you see the scallop edge for the ball. And where the orange is, that's my stitched layer. And then I used from the new Scallop Web Tag Dies, I used the middle one here. And that one measures 3 1/16. Oh, that's 3 1/16 is actually with the scallop. And let's see, and here I have my another ghosty again, and this little bow is from the Tiny Bows and Butterfly Plate. I have a little diamond dot here. And this ephemera and this ephemera, I did fussy cut those out, and those are the sweet and spooky. And I have a little spider here. That's again from the Fun Web Tag Dies. And here's my little sentiment here. On the bottom here, I use that sentiment die, which is here. I just needed a little contrast, so I left that there. And then I have my sentiment, have a spectacular night. I pop that up on foam. And I'll probably put this on a card, but isn't that super adorable? And last but not least, I created some tags using these Scallop Web Dies, and again the smallest is 2 inches, 3 1/16, and 4 1/16 for the largest one. I also used the circle postage dies, and it comes with, this is a set, and I just use that for my backing. And then I'll share with you the other products as I go along. Okay, so here's the largest one. At the top here I have some pink and black beads. Those are from Lady Cree. Thank you, sis. She's Fun Creations here on YouTube. And here's the smallest Tombstone Tag Die. And I made it into a charm, and I added RIP in my white gel pen. And here are some bats from the Fun Web Tag Dies. I popped those up. And here you see that pretty scallop for that web die. And then I have the spider web here. Then I also used my eyelet doily die. This is the medium size. And then I have the smallest size in pink. And here are my super cute ephemera, the Pink Pumpkin Magic. I did fussy cut everything out. This one, this little bat, that bat. And I added glossy accents to the bottle. And this little bow again is from the Tiny Bows and Butterfly Plate, and I added a little diamond dot, and I have glossy accents on the eyes as well. And I used this tiny little ovals from the Cocoa Mugs and stuff, and then I have loaded with Love and Candy. That's popped up on foam. That's also from the new stamp set, but the die is from the Cozy Hugs and Holiday Wishes, I believe that's what it's called. And then I have a little spider hanging off here, and that's again from the Fun Web Tag Dies. And then so for the middle one, again this measures 3 1/16 with a scallop. And so the black paper here, that's also from the Postage Web Tag Dies. And then I added the medium size spider web and the smallest eyelet doily die. And here's my ephemera, super cute. And this one is from the Sweet and Spooky ephemera. And I just added some cheesecloth. And this trim, by the way, is from Temu. It's like almost like a spooky tulle trim. And I do have on the back Happy Halloween. That's from the new stamp set. And for the smallest one here, and again, I used the circle die from the circle postage dies, and then I used the smallest spider web scallop here and the smallest spider web. Oh, and I forgot to mention there's a little oval piece behind her, and that's from the 3x3 square card die. And then this little oval piece again from the cocoa mugs and more cocoa mugs and stuff. And so I did fussy cut her out and the little kitty out, and they're both from the Pink Pumpkin Magic Ephemera. And it says Happy Halloween, and this one is from the Too Cute to Spook stamp and die set. And so that's my tags. Those are my tags. So here are my sneaky peeks for our Halloween release. And so don't forget to come back tomorrow for our release day, which starts at 8 a.m. and ends on Friday at midnight. And don't forget to use any of our coupon codes for 15% off your entire order. And my coupon code is Christine, but please feel free to share the love with any of my design team sisters. And also tomorrow, don't forget we're having a YouTube hop, Instagram hop, and school hop for a chance to win a $50 gift card to My Creative Time. So you have 3 chances to win. You just need to follow all of our design team members, leave a comment, and be 18 years or older. And if I've forgotten anything, I'll leave it down below. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And I thank you all so much for watching. Bye for now.